Okay, so today we're talking about core values reimagined. Again, it is somewhat in honor of today being Valentine's Day. And I am excited for all of you who are either joining in live or who might be watching this on the replay. So I encourage you, if there's something that I say that you like, to go ahead, like it, add a comment. Feel free to share this video, this post with other people, because we know that we are all always learning and growing. So now, let me tell you a little bit about me. If you've never, if you don't know who I am, or like, who's this lady and what makes her the expert, I think we all learn from one another. But again, my name is Concetta Lewis. These are lessons in leadership, and each week I will try to have a new lesson available for us to review, to talk about, and grow together. I have over 30 years of leadership experience. I know that I only look 25, but I do have over 30 years of leadership experience in a broad spectrum of settings. So I've served as a board member and board president for a nonprofit organization. I've worked in corporate America. I've worked in education. So I've worked in faith-based organizations. So I have just a broad continuum of leadership experience within those particular worlds. And then I'm also a certified leadership coach and trainer with the John Maxwell team. And those of you who aren't familiar with the work of John Maxwell, he has written many books on leadership and being a better leader. And most leaders, if you can probably go into any company today and they know who John Maxwell is, they are familiar with his work. And it's something that many leaders in all types of organizations reflect on and use his work to help guide their day-to-day decisions. So now what we're going to talk about today, first, you have to understand that your values are really at the heart of everything that you do and serve as the foundation for, what you're doing and how you might want to continue to grow, right? So your values drive what you do, okay? And then identifying what your individual values are is a fundamental step on your road to success. It's important, and we'll talk about this more a little bit later, to remember that everybody's values are going to be different, and that's not a bad thing. It's not right or wrong. It's what is important to you as an individual and what helps to drive the decisions and the choices that you make for your life, okay? And so it's those things that, again, help you decide to do what you do, when you do it, how and why you do it, okay? So now we are going to take some time to look at how do you get to your why, okay? So how do you define your core values, okay? Before we get to that, okay, let's talk about what's the difference between morals and values, okay? So I'll start with this. Values kind of describe your personal qualities, right? What you choose, what guides your actions, okay? Who you want to be, how you treat other people, right? Those are your values, and the interaction with the world and people around us, okay? It kind of gives a general guideline for what you believe, how you should conduct yourself within the world, right? So now, when we're thinking about that as it relates to morals, a moral is a belief system. So a moral often really does get into what is right and what is wrong, right? Within a society, there are moral imperatives, right, that you hear people talk about. It's a moral imperative that we do X, Y, Z. It's a moral imperative that we offer free and reduced lunch programs, right? It's a moral imperative that we have handicap spaces for individuals with disabilities. Okay. The thing about morals is that it's kind of expected across the society that this is kind of the standard for everyone. Okay. Whereas values are much more individualized to the individual, the organization, right? Or the group of people, the business. So we can all kind of have the same morals, but what we value as individuals will be very different. And again, it's not right or wrong, because that moral standard is there. It's what aspects of life, work, business, school, what aspects do we value more than others. Okay. And so some people say, think of values as the magnets in your compass, right? So values help guide how you get to where it is that you want to go. Now, how can they help you? Okay, values. Why is it important to have values? Values helps you when you're making decisions for your own life, right? Again, if you know what's important to you and what you value, which might be very different than what somebody else values, then that's okay, right? So that knowing your values will help you decide, should I take this position that was offered to me? Does this align with who I am, where I want to go? Do I want to work for this organization? Maybe the position is good, but is the organization one that I want to work for? Should I start my own business, right? Should I compromise and be flexible with my thinking? Or should I follow tradition and stay on that path? Those are your values, right? And those are the things that will help you decide what you want to do and the way that you want to do it. Now, one thing to keep in mind as you are defining your values, and I talked about this earlier, everybody's values are different. You can have two people who might be the same age, have the same background, might be in the same career, might have the same degree, but they might value different things and might therefore choose different paths for their life. And that is okay. Okay. Because what makes me happy may not make you happy as a person. So defining what your personal values are is the first step for you to be able to live by them on a daily basis. Okay. And when you begin to live by what your personal values are, then you'll begin to feel like your life is more fulfilled, right? And you will be more happy and, at peace with the choices that you made. So this is why it's important to define your personal values, right? What's important to you. I've had people, talk about, and I'll say this, especially in this world of Facebook and social media, everybody's out here living their best life and, posting this and posting that. You can't compare yourself necessarily to others, right? There has to be a balance in that, right? So there's a time when, yes, you are comparison, because we always all want to continue to learn and grow. But that doesn't mean that my path will be exactly like Susie's path, because that is what Susie did, right? Everybody's, again, what is important to you is, what's important. I remember when I was in high school, just a few years ago, when I was in high school, right? Everybody, around me, they had a boyfriend, they had a girlfriend, and I was just like, I don't have time for that. I was like, I'm in high school. I'm getting ready to go to college. When I go to college, we likely will not be going to the same college. That's just not high on my values list right now, having a boyfriend in high school. But there are other people that was very high, and that was okay, right? But again, you have to understand what is important to you and how that will play out into your future. And then you have to be okay with it, right? And don't let anybody else shame you for your values and what you value, right? It's okay. So now we are going to go step by step in terms of, I got a few steps that we'll look at in terms of defining what, how to get to that point where you are defining, these are the things that are of value to me. These are the things that are going to drive and guide my decision and, decision-making processes. So the first thing you should do, and what I did not do, and I apologize, I will make these slides available following the presentation. I apologize that I did not put them there ahead of time. Sometimes, we just don't think about all the things, right? That's because I'm growing and evolving in my leadership as well. All right, so back to it. Think of a time when you felt the happiest, right? And it can be within your career. It might be personal, okay? So think about a time, and as we go through these steps, maybe just jot them down. You might not be able to really take the time to reflect in this moment as I'm presenting the information, but I really want you to, at some point, pause, stop, think, reflect, right? As a leader, we are always reflecting, okay? So think about a time when you were the most happy, okay? What were you doing? Who were you with? And then what factors contributed to that happiness, okay? I'll give them to you again. What were you doing? Who were you with? And what factors contributed to that happiness? Now, for me, as I think about kind of where some people might be wondering, if you know me, well, what made you want to start leadership teaching and learning? A few years ago, when I served as board president for a nonprofit, part of my responsibility as board president was to plan a leadership retreat for board members and committee members, committee heads. In that process of capacity building for the board, right? But bringing them together to think about things, to look at where we were, to reflect, to think about how we wanted to move forward. It really sparked something within me. I'm telling you, I couldn't sleep, and it wasn't that kind of sleep where you're worried because you can't sleep. I mean, I was sitting on my patio, getting things together, working through pages. I mean, it was exhilarating for me. It was exciting. I was like, oh, I'm loving this. And that's when it kicked in. This is what you should be doing, right? So each time that I have the opportunity to present information to help people reflect, learn, grow, right? It gets me excited. Even preparing for the presentation today, as I was preparing the information, I just began to get excited thinking about if you really work through these action steps and begin to ensure that as you're making decisions, they're aligned with your values, you'll be a happier person, right? And knowing that I have the capacity to help others live a happier life is really encouraging for me. So that was really, really exciting. So again, here's were you the most happiest? What were you doing? Who were you with? And what factors contributed to that? And one of the things for the factors for me was that it wasn't this sort of, here's what you got to do. You got to, there's only one right answer to solve this problem. It was the process that I enjoyed, right? So the factors, there was no necessarily right or wrong, but it was like a process of growth. And I truly, truly enjoyed that. Now, step 2, you think about a time when you felt most proud, right? So why were you proud? Okay. Did other people share in this pride with you? And then that third question is about, again, what other factors contributed to your feelings? Okay. So I will give these again. Why were you proud? Did other people share in that pride, and then who were those people, and then what other factors contributed to your feelings. And again, this can be from a personal perspective or career, business perspective. And you might have different values for the different worlds that you have to navigate. And I think that is okay as well, right? Because what's important for me from a family perspective might be different from a work perspective. So thinking about, again, just picking one time, where'd you feel the most proud? What other people were involved? And then what factors contributed to your feelings? And for me, those times, I think one of the times is when I had the opportunity to give a opening address for a fellowship for teachers and principals, some of the highest performing teachers and principals from all across the country. Came together for a convening, and I was asked to give the opening address. And to have been asked to talk in front of a room of my colleagues and share my experience and inspire them was phenomenal, because what I also knew is that those hundreds of people, when they left that room, something that I said could potentially help them as they're impacting families and children all across this country. So by having the opportunity to deliver that message, that gave me the opportunity to touch people, children and families all across America, which was great. And again, what other factors contributed to it? That inspiring piece, right? I love being able to help other people learn and grow. Now, step 3 is think about a time when you felt the most fulfilled and successful. And again, this could be from a personal perspective or a career perspective, okay? Think about what need or desire was fulfilled, okay? How and why did the experience give your life meaning? And that third question remains the same. What other factors contributed to your feelings of fulfillment? So I will give them to you again. What need or desire was fulfilled? How and why did the experience give your life meaning? And then the third one is, what other factors contributed to your fulfillment? As you see, that third question is the same in each one. And again, I know that you might not be able to do it right in this moment as we're going through, but I want you to think about, are there themes that have emerged with that third question, right? So are the factors that have contributed to your feelings the same throughout those 3 questions, right? Do you see any emerging themes? Take some time to go through those steps and evaluate that. Then what you're going to do is use your answers to those questions, right? To think about, as I've gone through those things, what things have emerged as being core values for me. So I'm going to share with you a list of core values, and give me a moment as I work to pull that list up. Here we go. Just as an example, again, there's no way that you will be able to go through this whole list in this moment, but this is to really give you something to think about as you move forward, right? So there's all types of things on this list, right? Clarity, discipline, discretion, discovery. So these are just some things to think about in terms of what might be open-mindedness, right? Relaxation, reliability, what is important to you, okay? So again, these are just things for you to think about. And you might say, you know what? None of the things on that list are what is most important to me, and that's okay. This was just something to brainstorm, right? Something to just kind of get you thinking about that process of core values. Now, the next step, okay, is once you have, I would say, start thinking about, as you're answering those questions, identify a list of 10 core values, okay? And as I go through that list, right, you think about it. For me, one of my core values is definitely being able to engage and spend time with the folks that I love, right? A core value for me is wanting to work with all types of people, to be a capacity builder, right? So what are your values, right? What are the top things that drive what you do and why you do it, okay? Have your list of 10, then go through that list and kind of prioritize. And when I think about, even if you're applying for a job, right, and you know what your core values are, you might have 3 job offers pending before you, right? All 3 of them may have great salaries and great benefits, okay? So then it's about thinking about which one of these organizations or teams that I would be working with, right? Sometimes it's the specific team within the organization that can make the difference. What's important to me, right? What is driving me? If I know that, then I'm better able to decide which one of those 3 positions I should accept, or if maybe I should say to all 3 of them, I appreciate the offer. However, at this time, I am not going to accept the offer, right? So knowing what you value will help guide you as you are making those decisions. And I encourage you again to rank them so that you know, maybe this is an item is a non-negotiable, right? If it is something that's going to cause me to not, if I've got a long commute and I won't be able to spend as much time with my family, that might be a non-negotiable where you might say, you know what, as great as that is, unfortunately, this does not align with the direction that I am going in as an individual. And again, remember, that is okay. Now, once you've prioritized your core values, right, then you want to reaffirm that they fit with your life and the vision that you have for your life, okay? So here are some questions that you can ask. Do these values make you feel good about yourself, right? If this is something that I'm valuing, does this make me say, you know what, I'm okay with that, okay? Are you proud of your top 3 values? Again, are these things that you don't mind saying to someone, you know what, these are kind of my core values. This is, really what drives me as an individual, or whatever. If you're an attorney, these are the things that drive me as an attorney, right? Here are my core values. If you're a medical doctor, here are the 3 things that are, important to me as a medical provider, okay? And that's okay. Would you be comfortable and proud to tell your values to people that you respect and admire? Many of us have, professional mentors or others that we look up to from a professional standpoint. Would you be proud to and comfortable sharing what your core values were with those individuals? And then, do these values represent things you would support even if the choice isn't popular, right? And put you in the minority. Again, people might be thinking, what, man, you got a job offer from so-and-so and you turned it down? Again, and that might be okay because it does not align with your core values, okay? Now, you have to have some balance. Please don't take this out of context, right? Now, in general, my core value is I want to be able to, pay my mortgage, make sure I got lights, heat, so on and so forth. So I can't just be out here saying I'm not going to work for anybody. We have to have some balance. So please don't misinterpret what I'm saying here today. I'm just saying that as you're making choices that, sometimes you don't have to be forced into a choice. There might be times when you have to be forced, but know that most times we have options in choosing, right? Even if, let's say, I have to, go get a second job. There are, options. Maybe I'll say, you know what? Walmart that does not do it for me. But Target, I could go work at Target. Okay. Same type of position, but again, maybe it's just about what my values are and how that organization aligns with who I am as a person, right? So again, not wanting folks to misinterpret what I'm saying, but just know that it's your choice to decide how you get there, right? The end result is to be able to have income to pay your bills, and there are multiple ways to get there. Okay. So now there are some additional questions that you should think about in this process. Okay. One of those is, and this will help you better understand what your values are, right? So when something challenging comes my way, how do I respond? When something great comes my way, how do I respond, right? Who are my closest friends? And then how do I treat the people around me? Okay. So thinking about how you respond in situations will give you an idea of where your values stand today. And let me say this, the values that I hold today, February 14th, 2021, some of them might be the same from February 14th, 1999 or 1988. Okay. But many of them have evolved over time. And so this is not how companies want to have their mission, vision, and values. But even as a company or an organization, these are things that you should continuously reflect on and evaluate to see, are these still appropriate? Do these still speak to who we are as a company? Do these items still speak to who I am as an individual? Okay. And so doing that will help you to know that you're changing, you're learning, you're growing, but knowing that all those factors influence what your values are. Now, living your values, okay? So when it comes to applying your values, it might not always be easy to make that values-based choice, okay? But remember, you're making that choice for your own individual personal happiness, right? And so you know that even if it's not what everybody else thinks you should do, by choosing this, you will be happier in the end. And that is essential. We are such a world that is filled with that pressure to people please, instead of really pausing to stop and think and take time for what's important to us. Okay. So think about, this is, as I say, living your best life, but there's living your best life not based on what somebody else's version of that should be, but living your best life based on what matters to you. Okay. So now, living your values. Now, use your values for goal setting. Okay. So this speaks to what I just said, deciding where you want to go, right? Again, not based on somebody else's view, but based on what's important to you. Okay. So consider, we all have current goals, whether you've got them written down or not. We all have goals that we are likely working toward in this space. Okay. So think about your goals, and then think about, I know, again, this is a lot to take in on a Sunday afternoon, Valentine's Day. You might have a hot date tonight. Lot to take in on a Sunday afternoon, but think about when maybe if you're watching in the replay, right? Or if you come back and look at this later, do your goals align with the values that you've identified? Okay. Are you living according to your values in all areas of your life? Maybe in some areas you're doing great, and in other areas not so great. And that's okay. It's a reflective learning, growing process. Does your career choice reflect your values, right? Sometimes, we go down certain paths because that is what someone else told us we should do. But think about, again, does that align with your own individual values? Because it is your life. What about your activities outside of your place of employment? And then